Hi viewers, welcome to Ezayola Online English. Today we are still, in continuation on our verbs episode. We are still on the episode of the verbs. Last time we, slightly talked about the regular verbs, but then we focused majorly on the irregular verbs. I have my video there. I have done already under the regular and the irregular verbs. But today we are looking at transitive and intransitive verbs. I think I told you that the verbs, if not the most important, should be considered as one of the most important word classes. There are too many things to talk about as far as the verb is concerned. There are so many things, expositions to be made under the verb as a topic in English language. So this morning, we are considering transitive and intransitive verbs. When we say that verbs are transitive, what do we mean? Or what does someone need to learn? What does a learner need to know and understand about the transitive verbs? When we also say that verbs are intransitive, what should come into your mind? What is expected of you as a learner in English language to understand about intransitive verbs? Now, let us look at transitive verbs. For the transitive verbs, when we make an expression or we establish a sentence where the verb admits an object, that is, a situation where we have subject, verb, and object. That's when we say that such verbs existing in that particular sentence is a transitive one. Let me explain further. From what we have on the board, we have the transitive verbs, verbs that are in their transitive forms. From these sentence examples, number one says, the baby likes milk. Okay? We have it as the baby likes milk. Now, if we look at this expression, the first one, the baby, we have subject. That is, the baby is talking about the subject. Remember, when we say subject deals with the performer of an action in a sentence. If you look at this sentence structure, you notice something. The baby performs, or rather is given an information, okay? Subject could be the performer of an action, could be the giver of an information. It depends on the sentence structure. So that is the main thing or main person, the child, of course, that we are talking about. Okay? That's the subject, the baby. And if we underline this to be the subject, of course, we look at it as a noun phrase because it involves a determiner and the head word. The determiner is they. And then we have baby. Blending the two together, we have it as a noun phrase. Now look, and that's the subject, okay? Look at the verb likes and then milk, okay? Now, the likes is the verb here. And the milk is what? Is the object. That is the receiver of the action or whatever, okay? That's the milk. Now, because the likes, which is the verb, admits an object. That is why this likes as a verb is a transitive verb. Okay? You need to understand it very clearly. When we say that verb is a transitive verb, it means that in a sentence where it is existing, there must be an object. It must admit an object in that sentence so that we have a subject, verb, object, SVO. All right? Okay. If we look at the second expression here, we have the dog fought the cat. The dog is the subject of the expression, and the cat is the object. Okay? Remember, the subject is the performer, is the person or the thing, whatever it is, that did the action, that performed the action. What was the action? Fought. Action of fighting in the simple past tense. Okay? The cat was the thing, object, that received the action performed by the subject. Now, this possibility where we have the subject and we have the verb, we equally have the object, because the verb here admits an object, admits something to be the object. Remember, the object or subject of sentences can be nouns or pronouns. They can be noun phrases, they can be noun clauses. Under this example, number 2, we have the subject as a noun phrase. We equally have the object to be a noun phrase. So the subject here, and then the verb, finally the object. The verb is admitting the object, okay? Yes, that's why the fourth here, which is the verb, is a transitive verbs. Take note again, a transitive verbs are those verbs that accept, they admit objects in sentences where they exist. Sentence number 3, example, I is the subject of the sentence. I, personal pronoun. I love everybody. And what is the object? Everybody is loved by me. If we want to change this expression from active to passive, it is possible. But that is, by the way, a digression. We have I love everybody. I is the subject. Love is the verb. And then the object is what? Everybody. Because of this possibility that this verb has accepted, has admitted an object in this sentence, that is why it is a transitive verb. Finally, we have she, which is the subject. I told you already that the subject of a sentence can be a noun or a pronoun. In this case, it is a pronoun. In this case, it is also a pronoun. Here, it is a noun phrase. It can also be a noun phrase or a noun clause. So here we have them as a noun clause, noun phrase. Here we have it as what? A pronoun. Here we also have it as a pronoun. She loves fashion, all right? The verb is loves. And then what is being loved is what? Fashion. That's the object. So because of this possibility of having an object, blending it together with the verb, that makes this verb a transitive verb. Remember, transitive verbs are those verbs that accept, that admit objects in sentences where they exist. What about the intransitive? That is the contrary. We now see the contrary, the reverse. They do not. The verbs that are intransitive, they do not admit. They do not accept objects in sentences where they exist. Let us look at the examples we have. We have the children. That's the subject. The children went home. Now, we have went here, which is a verb. The children went, okay? Do you know that we could say the children went and we stop there? Does the expression make meaning? Of course it does. The children, what about them? Did they go? Of course they went. The children went, all right? Now, the home is not an object. The home here is rather an adverb. Adverb of what? Place. Telling us where the children went. So whether it is there or not, the point is that the expression can stand independently and then converse a complete logical meaning. That is why this went here, it is not a transitive verb. It is rather an intransitive verb because it does not accept any what? Any object. There is no object here. What we have is subject, verb, adverbials. All right? From the second example, we see the same thing, of course. The verb, the bird flew. The bird flew. We could decide to stop here. The bird flew. Where? Over the tree. Now, the over the tree is an adverbial of what? Of place, telling us about where the verb flew to. So it couldn't be seen, it shouldn't rather be seen as an object. Remember, intransitive verbs, they do not accept, they do not admit objects. So because of the fact that there is no object here, that's why the verbs exist in went and flew already, as we have taught or talked about them. They do not admit. There is no object for them to accept. That's why they are intransitive verbs. We have the next example, they played. They played. Is it wrong to say they played? The children, were they part of it? Were they part of the play? Yes, they played. We can stop there. It doesn't stop the sentence from, or the expression from having or making a complete logical meaning. Of course, we can do that. They played. It is when we have curiosity, quest to know more about where they played. That's when we now ask further questions before the person making the expression will now talk about the place, which is, where did they play? On the field. Okay? On the field is now an adverbial phrase. It is not an object. This is an adverbial phrase of place, telling us about where the children played. Okay? Now, the played here is equally seen as an intransitive verb because it doesn't admit what? Admit an object. Finally, we traveled. Did we travel? Of course, we traveled. We can stop there, all right? And the expression will make a complete meaning. But then, if I need to go further to express or to talk about where we travel to, that's where I will now talk about the place, to London. Where did you travel to? We traveled to London. And this should be seen and known as what? Adverbial phrase of place, telling us where we travel to, and not an object, just like what we have here. We have subject, we have object, but we have here, under the intransitive aspect, we have them as subjects and verbs and then adverbials. Thank you very much. You need to understand the difference between transitive and intransitive verbs. When we mention transitive verbs, they are those verbs that when their uses is applied in sentence situation, you notice that they must admit objects. But for the intransitive verbs, they do not admit any object. Thank you very much.